Welcome to episode 4 of our What's Next series, reviewing what's going to happen to global property markets post-Covid-19. This week we're going to be looking at reimagining residential property with a main focus on the UK and actually London, but in cities all around the UK. What do we think will happen with residential, particularly apartment blocks, after all of this? Well, before we start, let's have a quick look at what's gone on in the UK property market in the last week or two since we last spoke. Well, obviously the market's opened up a bit now. People can go and look at properties, as I mentioned last time. There's been a huge increase in traffic across the major portals, websites in the UK. Savills are talking about a spike in activity, particularly online. Zoopla said they've had a huge surge in online activity. I think Rightmove had its busiest day ever on the 27th of May. So that's obviously showing that there was a huge pent-up demand for people getting back into the property market and looking to move, to rent, to buy. Rightmove, interestingly, have suggested that the demand for rental property across Great Britain is 22% higher than this time last year. Again, I mentioned this before. I've no doubt that rentals will be a huge driver in the UK property market. Of course, first-time buyers and people looking to upgrade or downgrade will still be moving. We know there's a lot of people that are in the market right now, but equally, it's pretty clear that anybody that's nervous about their job, their finances, are going to want to rent. So you're going to have a huge rental opportunity for those would-be property investors or existing property investors. But anyway, today I want to talk a bit more about how we see things playing out with commercial property and residential property on the back of this. And I did mention this before in my first podcast in terms of, office workers, how the world is now changing with the amount of people that are working from home. So here's an interesting stat for you from the ONS, the UK Office of National Statistics. 70% of all workers in the UK prior to lockdown had never worked from home before. Now, obviously, that's a big number, and we know that construction workers, police, men and women, etc., can't work from home, but that's a huge number. But many of them are now working at home, and this has seen a huge knock-on effect for the office space sector, and I think it will continue to do so. It's estimated that in London space alone, the cost to a company is between £650 and £1,500 a month per employee. So clearly, companies are going to now start to think about that. If you think about what an employee will spend living at home, some of those employees are only spending those amounts of money on monthly rent. And the employer can save a huge amount of money by having them work from home. And you're going to see that more and more and more. Absolutely no doubt about that. So I think you're going to see home policies changing, companies having more transitioning to part-time work or home part-time work rather. And this will allow companies to reduce their overheads and capex costs. There's a company called Who's, Houzz, which is a home improvement website. And they've released some of their stats on what people have been buying from them during the lockdown period. It's amazing. Searches for desks, garden offices, small offices has increased between 69%, 82% for people kind of setting themselves up at home. Searches for meditation rooms, yoga rooms has obviously spiked. People trying to get away from their husbands or their wives or their children or everybody. But, people are working from home and have settled into that rhythm, and companies will no doubt be looking to get more people doing that. For any new build developments, however, this will mean that developers are really going to need to think about future requirements if people are going to be working from home, because most people in cities live in apartments. Many of those apartments are not geared up particularly well. You think about your average apartment, 4 walls, kitchen, bathroom, bedroom. That floor plan just might not be fit for purpose anymore. You can see this in Savills' latest residential global market sentiment survey. That's a bit of a mouthful. 83% of respondents felt that strong Wi-Fi was their number one priority when renting or buying a new apartment. 73% felt that demand for access to green spaces is also a top priority. So, developers are going to have to think again about what they're designing, given that people are going to be working from home a heck of a lot more. But of course, There's a flip side to all of this, and that is what's going to happen to all of these commercial buildings that have been built over the years to house offices that may no longer exist. Well, I think that's going to, as I said again before, that's going to provide a great opportunity for residential developers to convert these buildings. It's quicker, it's cheaper, they're in great locations. So I think this can only be, in the medium long term, a good thing. People will see the downsides, but quite honestly, I think being able to work from home, being able to be flexi working, I think going to work in offices that are far smaller in that where there may have been 300 people sat there, there'll be 100 people on a Monday, a different 100 people on a Tuesday, a different 100 people on a Wednesday, and in those days in between, we'll be working at home. I mean, clearly this is a more medium long-term change. It's not going to happen overnight. None of us quite know what's going to happen in the next 3 weeks, let alone 3 years. But this is without a doubt where it's all going. I don't think anyone can argue with the reasonably conventional wisdom of a change in the way people live and a change in the way people work. How do developers, agents, investment companies like ours respond to this? Well, it's up to all of us to see the opportunities. And without a doubt, IP Global will be looking for opportunities to invest, buy, sell properties that have better infrastructure in terms of Wi-Fi, green spaces, the layouts of the apartments in locations that are fit for purpose, if you like, in terms of being able to work from them, but also commute into to local offices, to the city centres to go and work for 1, 2, 3 days of the week. And that's extremely important that developers acknowledge that as well. And we'll be looking for buildings where we think there are really good opportunities for conversion. So permitted development of office buildings in great locations, they'll be there, there'll be opportunities there. And we want to be quick to jump on those and seize those opportunities before our competitors do. So, I see huge opportunities coming out of all of this, despite the fact that it's been a horrendously difficult time for many people. Just finishing up and reporting on what's happening with IP Global and our investor base. Slow and steady with German investors still, people looking for access to new markets, for steady, secure, medium, long-term growth, which we've seen consistently, particularly in Berlin, but now we're investing in Leipzig as well. A lot of demand for regional cities. Birmingham, Leeds, Sheffield are the markets that seem to be sought after the most by investors. They're ones with lower levels of supply. Prices are keen, yields are strong, and as I said before, lots of investors looking for high-yielding, mid to high-yielding opportunities, and there are going to be a lot of tenants in the markets over the coming years. Without a doubt, London is a hot spot again already, and investors who are looking for crazy bargains of 30% are going to be looking for so long that by the time they decide to buy, most opportunities will have gone by the wayside. There aren't those discounts. It's a tough market, but it's an active market, and there are deals, but they're not crazy cheap deals, but there is access to some really good investments. Our clients in Asia, particularly Hong Kong, are active again in London. They're looking for, as people do in a flight to quality market, they're looking for quality product in London. And we will be launching new schemes in London. We've got one ready to go that I think really fits the bill in terms of some of the things I've been talking about today. But you can judge that for yourselves when we launch it. And we are actively looking at 4 or 5 deals in London right now. So I'm going to leave you with that. Wish you all well, stay safe, and look forward to speaking to you all again soon.